Hi, welcome to LoJoLife. This is just a quick intro to the interview that I did with Eric Andrews. In the beginning, I had mentioned we were going to split it up into two, but the conversation flowed so well that I couldn't split it up. So it's just going to be one video. I hope you enjoy. And if you do, please be sure to like and subscribe. And I will see you guys next week.
I have been practicing yoga for since Lake Yoga opened, really. My better half Candace teaches yoga there at Lake Yoga, and she's done yoga for a long time. So we used to live in South Florida, and she did Bikram yoga, which is hot yoga. I don't know. You familiar with Bikram yoga?
A little bit, not too much.
It's basically like you hold poses. There's only, I forget how many. She would know, but there's like 21 poses or something like that, and you hold them for a long time, and you go through the sequence twice, and it's in a hot room, so it's hot yoga.
Okay.
And I did that with her a few times. She was way better at it than me. I would just, if I could stay in the room, it was an accomplishment.
Yeah.
And then I didn't do it for a while. I did CrossFit for a long time, and then in fact, I opened a CrossFit gym.
Nice.
And sold that.
Yeah. Hey.
And then she was teaching she wasn't even teaching yet at Lake Yoga, but Lake Yoga opened, and I've been going there since they opened. So however long that's been.
Okay.
4 years, maybe. I think they
sounds about right. I started going there.
I don't remember.
I don't know. I don't remember because I started going after they reopened after COVID. So I know they were there prior to that.
Yeah, they were.
That's when I started. So
okay.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. So CrossFit. So you started your own studio there?
Yeah, I've had a lot of lives and wore a lot of hats, but so I started CrossFit down in South Florida back when it was pretty popular down there, more so than here. Well, it started I think it started in Atlanta and California and South Florida. So down in South Florida, there was a CrossFit gym on every block, and I started down there. It's funny. I actually watch your journey of your weight loss and getting healthy and everything like that. I had a similar story, probably not as extreme of a transformation, but I that's how I got into CrossFit. I had joined a gym down there, and then I had won a paleo challenge.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I had lost the biggest percentage of body fat. And there were some other criteria, food journaling and comparing workouts, before the contest and after. And the prize back then was I had won a entry into the admission into to get the coaching license.
Okay.
So that was the prize was a coaching license, which now they're pretty expensive. Mm-hmm. So I went and got certification. That's what I was thinking of. So I got my certification to do CrossFit, or to coach CrossFit. And then I joined a gym down there, coached for a little while. And then we moved back to Ohio. And when we moved back to Ohio, there wasn't as many CrossFit gyms. They were just starting to pop up. There was one in Perry. And so I would drive to Perry every morning, which it wasn't that far, but it was about a half an hour there and a half an hour back when it was all said and done. So after doing that for about a year, a buddy of mine, Scott Merritt, who's a local Painesville celebrity, we decided to open one up in Concord over by the yoga studio, okay. The Cryo Road area. And so we opened up that CrossFit, which is now behind Lake Yoga. And we ended up, we opened it up really just for our family and friends. And we ended up getting so many members that, we both have full-time jobs. So we had a guy help us, a guy named Alex. We had him come in to run it. He had a master's degree in fitness from, and worked at Spire. It made a lot more sense. He was more of a poster child for CrossFit and health than a couple old guys. So, so he ended up running it for a while, did really well. And then, we sold it and passed it on to him, and he still has it behind there. And in fact, he's now opened up a second gym. So he's doing good.
Nice.
So yeah, that's the story with the CrossFit. And then, I don't know, I just kind of morphed over to yoga.
Yeah. Hey, I love yoga, man. It's one of my favorite parts of my fitness. I think that anybody that's looking for full overall health, I think should have some yoga in their life. no matter what you're doing. If you're weightlifting, if you're CrossFitting, if you're a runner, I think everybody can benefit from it, just because the benefits go beyond just the flexibility and the strength that you build with it, but also just like the inner work you have to do to just get through that stuff.
Yep.
So
yeah, I agree. And it's also it's a good place to pick up friends to come to your music shows if you're a musician. So.
Yes, or get people on a podcast.
Yeah, I do tell people, like, if no matter whatever you're doing, like joining a gym or a yoga studio or any motorcycle gang or whatever, like like joining something like that, it's a good way to, like, people in gyms and stuff like that, like they're pretty supportive of each other. So
I agree with that.
More so than a bar, you know what I mean?
Oh,
That's what I'm saying.
100%. No, I've made a lot of great connections at the yoga studio in just the short time I've been there. You and Candace, Joe and Tara, who helped me put all this together on the production side.
I gotta say that, like, I just can't believe I am in Tara the Foodie's studio right now. Like, this is like mind blowing. Like, I've made it. You know what I mean?
Yes, we're here.
Yes.
So it's talking about the CrossFit and all that. Entrepreneurship is actually something that you're pretty familiar with. You do a lot with business in general, don't you?
Yeah, I do. So I'm on the business end, I am I guess I would be called a real estate developer.
Okay.
And I'm a commercial real estate broker, and do have some commercial properties, strip centers, office buildings, industrial buildings, and whatnot. So that's kind of my day job.
Okay. So what got you into that? What?
So it's I'm in a family business. It's a family business started by my father, here in mostly Lake County. We have some stuff we branch out a little bit, but, so that's, kind of what I did. I've done that pretty much my whole life. And, in school, I was, I started out picking up cigarette butts and on the properties and mowing the lawns and painting the parking stops yellow. And, that was my kind of thing. And, I've worked every aspect of the business, from, working with the air conditioning guys up on the roofs to, accounts receivable, accounts payable, accounting. I've learned pretty much every aspect of the business. I also did a stint, I talked about South Florida, where I branched off from my family and went out away from my family and went down to South Florida, got my broker's license down there, real estate license. And I worked for a large portfolio down there doing the same thing, managing shopping centers and leasing shopping centers. And, when you're in a family business, I'd been in a family business for so long that, you really don't know if you're good or if you absolutely suck. You really don't know. You have nothing to gauge on. You know what I mean?
Nepotism's real.
You're in a family business. Like you really don't know. So, when I went down there to Florida, I was able to, kind of find out that, I didn't suck. I was actually pretty good at it. So I made a lot of connections, and I was going down there temporarily. Originally my thought was to go down there for like a year, became 3 years, became 5 years. I ended up being down there for like 13 years.
Okay.
And met a lot of good connections in business and, outside of business.
Yeah.
And then eventually I came back, people asked me, why did you come back to glorious Ohio? And, I'd been I got sick of, it was family. I got sick of watching everybody's life kind of go by on Facebook. Again, it was supposed to be short, 3 years, 5 years, 10, all of a sudden 10 years, kids are getting older and this and that. And, some of my family had some health issues and whatnot. So, and I'd been away long enough that I just kind of figured, well, how cold could it be? I couldn't remember. And I was like, I'll wear a hat and some gloves. I'll be fine. And
then you got back here and you were like, what did I do?
The first winter, like literally the first snow, I think we moved back in January of 2013, and it was like January, and, so yeah, it was like that first winter. I was like, oh shit, I had regret. I was like, what did I do?
Yeah.
But yeah, here I am.
Hey, but hey, that's a great experience, though. I think I was wondering if you had moved down there for just to escape the cold, or to figure out if you could just do it on your own, and I think that's important for anybody. And I actually personally, like, I think just by viewing other people and seeing other people, even if it's not just business, I think we kind of tend, when we get into our early 20s, and we just want to go as far away from whatever we were raised with, and we go the opposite way, and we push those boundaries, and we explore. And I think a lot of times we come back to kind of what we were raised with, and but wiser and more equipped, and you've taken your bruises and your lumps, and find out maybe your parents did know what they were talking about. And
Sure. Yeah. Well, yeah, a lot of time, most of the times they did,
Yeah.
yeah, life takes these, peaks and valleys. Like life takes all these little chapters.
Yeah.
And I've had a lot of chapters
Oh,
in
me
my
too,
life.
trust me.
So, both
Yeah.
good and bad,
Yeah.
and
But in my experience, the good or the bad always makes the good better. One, you appreciate it and you're more grateful. But two, I think the most lessons in life are learned on your downturns and when things aren't going well. I just think that we as humans tend to learn more because we get complacent when things are going good, and we're not necessarily seeking out improvement and growth if things are going well. At least that's me personally.
no, I agree. We do get complacent when things are going well.
Mm-hmm.
I was just actually, this is getting off topic, but, when things are going shitty, that's when we pray and stuff like that. I don't, you don't have to be religious, but when things are going shitty and your back's against the wall and you're stressed at 2:00 in the morning, that's when you're like, oh God, but when things are going good and really good, like, we completely forget about that whole thing, that whole thing that maybe got us out of this jam that we were in or whatever, so
Yeah, isn't it?
I think it's important to remember that. And I don't know, maybe it's because I'm getting older, but like now I think about that. It's like when you're in the thick of things, you're not really thinking about it. But now when I look back, it's like everything's a stepping stone.
Yes.
This wouldn't have happened if that didn't happen, if that wouldn't happen, if that wouldn't happen. But when you're in it and you're in the mix of it, you don't really think about it,
Oh,
So
for sure. I agree with that. I mean, I'm not shy about talking about my
Yeah.
drug addiction and my being unhealthy. And I truly believe I wouldn't be where I'm at today around the people that I'm around with the mindset that I have had I not gone through that.
Yeah, probably not.
I just, because you get a whole new perspective, you get a whole new outlook. And then you do become grateful. And I catch myself sometimes getting complacent, and then I stay stagnant. And I notice when I get into those movements or non-movement rather, I feel like I'm unhappy. I'm not happy, and I have to reevaluate and push myself to get a little bit better.
Yeah.
And part of that is surrounding yourself by good, like-minded people, like you said earlier. Joining a gym or joining a group of guys and gals and people that are very just. If you're in that scenario, you're probably more growth mindset. So I think surrounding yourself around those people is always beneficial.
Sure.
Because everybody has something that they can offer to somebody else. Like, I can get inspired by something you do, and then you get inspired by something I do, and it just kind of grows from there. And I think that's where a lot of really good bonds and really cool things can happen.
Yeah, for sure.
So
practice gratitude, I think, is
that's one of the things I love about yoga so much is it's a constant thing in yoga. So you're always thinking about it. And I'm not always great about it, but I try every day to write just 3 things I'm grateful for at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And just,
it's a good practice. Yeah.
It helps keep things in perspective.
Yeah.
What matters. So you have a podcast.
I do have a podcast. It's it's in its infancy stages. So I'm kind of going around with different ideas and different things, kind of see what sticks. But yeah,
that's kind of where I'm at with the YouTube channel too. But it's the last I do, it's pretty music based, right?
Yeah. So I'm a local musician here in Northeast Ohio, and I'm an older local musician. Yeah, I'm not in my 20s. I'm 53 years old.
Well, you don't look a day over 51. I'm kidding.
Yeah, thank you. I work hard at it. But I'm pretty busy. I play out, in the summertime, I play out 3, 4, 5 nights a week. In the
You're
wintertime,
always
I
out.
play 2, 3 times a week. So I play a lot, but that didn't just happen.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of work that goes involved in that, a lot of work. And so, I've bumped my nose on the wall a few times. Plus I just have some experience just, from being in sales otherwise, in my business and whatnot. So I basically started a podcast with the premise of, maybe helping people that want to have maybe a side hustle or do that for a living, how to make money as a solo musician or, even in a band or whatnot.
That's awesome.
So that's the purpose. That's the purpose of the podcast. Kind of help people say, hey, look, this is what I do. Here's how I get five shows a week or whatever. Here's what I do. Here's how I did it. Here's everything from here's the equipment I use. Here's here's how do I get gigs and stuff like that. So that's what it's about.
Well, good. Very cool. Very cool. Yeah. I know you're very active in the area and the music scene. Now when did your love of music start?
So, yeah, that's a whole other journey, whole nother journey. So, I started playing music really when I was a kid. I always had a kind of a gift of a good voice. And I was in plays when I was little. I think
I was too.
Probably my first play was, in like 6th grade. You're a good man, Charlie Brown. I was Charlie Brown.
I was Charlie Brown on that too.
There you go. I got that covered. The Electric Sunshine Man. I was Thomas Edison or whatever. But these were in grade school, I guess. And then I did some stuff at Lake Erie College. They had a Lake Erie Arts program, or LEAP. It was called LEAP. Okay. And I was in LEAP for some years. And then I got into high school, and I was in choir and whatnot. And then in high school, I became kind of a bad kid. I was kind of a rebel. I gave the choir director quite a hard time and whatnot. And they had a thing called Top 25 at Menor High, and they were just like, no, dude, you're too bad of a kid. So,
we have very similar upbringings. I got in trouble in choir all the time too. Yeah. I probably don't have as good of a voice as you do, but
I don't know.
I got caught flipping off the teacher once when she turned around, and that didn't go out well. But.
Yeah, that high school is kind of where I went off the rails a bit, and I skipped a lot of school and partied too much and whatnot. So, but I was in bands in high school. So I did do the whole band thing throughout high school, and that was a lot of fun. We played, bowling alleys and stuff like that. And then after high school, kind of real life set in, and I kind of stopped doing the band thing for years. Yeah. I tried to play real life for a little while. I tried to do that whole routine. That didn't really work out for me too good either. So I always had an acoustic guitar at home. I probably played the same 5 songs for 25 years. And, I didn't really do much with it. And then fast forward, about, I don't know, not that long ago, maybe, 2017, 18, 19, somewhere in there. My buddy, Scott Merritt, who I mentioned earlier, he was having a bonfire for his daughter's graduation, her graduation from high school, which coincidentally enough was in this neighborhood that we're in right now.
Yes.
In Tara the Foodie's studio. So cool. Drinking out of a Wonder Woman coffee mug. I mean, it doesn't, I just feel amazing. You
pull it off.
I feel amazing. So anyway, so he had a bonfire for his daughter's graduation, and it was kind of the end of the night. And a friend of ours was there. We were all sitting around the campfire, all the adults were. And a buddy of ours had brought a guitar, and he was, just 3 sheets to the wind. He was so drunk. And so he was trying to play like a Tom Petty song or something like that. And just, it wasn't going well. And so I just said, hey, give me that guitar. And I ended up banging out, the 5 songs I'd been playing for a million years or whatever. Yeah. Well, my buddy Scott's he's a big idea guy. I mean, he'll probably be the mayor of this city at some time. It's just one of those guys that has grand ideas and whatever. So he's the one I started the CrossFit gym with.
Okay.
And he's like, I didn't even know you knew how to play, and I've been hanging around with this guy for a while. We were, pretty tight friends. One of my best friends. And he's like, I didn't even know you knew how to play. And I'm like, well, I don't really play. He's like, that was awesome, yada, yada, yada. And he's like, oh man, we could play the wineries. We could play all the wineries and all the outdoor, the state, this will be so much fun or whatever. And I'm like, what do you mean we, like, what do you play? Yeah. He's like, well, I don't play. He's like, he's like, I sing pretty good country songs. I'm like, yeah, well, I don't play any country songs. So, he's my, we always kid, he's my manager.
Yeah.
And so, a couple of weeks went by, and I actually started. So what I was starting to do was do YouTube videos in my basement. That's where my, my whole tag thing, my whole branding is Eric Andrews Basement Recordings.
Yeah.
A lot of people say, what are basement recordings? They see me playing live all the time. That's where the basement recordings come from.
Okay.
I originally started, and I was literally like, I had no clue what I was doing. I was just filming videos on my iPhone. I was trying to use some recording software. No clue what I was doing. And I was doing that for a while, and I was putting up YouTube videos, just having fun. Yeah. No focus, no goal, which I am now concentrating on goals and focusing. At that time, it was no goals, no focusing. And so I started doing that a little bit more. I was like, yeah, maybe I'll start doing this again. Maybe I'll pick this up. I enjoy it, And then, I don't know, a couple of weeks goes by, and Scott calls me. He's like, I got you a gig. What you talking about? You got me a gig. He's like, yeah, I got you a gig. I got you a gig at the Fish Tavern in Paynesville. Okay. Local tavern, fish bar. Local tavern, fish bar. And I was like, you got me a gig. I'm like, now I have 7 songs. You know what I mean? I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, no, I booked this gig. Everybody from the gym is coming.
Of course.
So it was like,
no pressure.
Yeah. And it's Saturday night, and it was like, and it was Monday, and I was like, shit. Okay. So, first of all, I had to go out and get everything. I didn't even know what I needed, but I had to go out, and I knew I needed a PA system, and I knew I needed a guitar that plugged in. I had a guitar that didn't even have I had a true acoustic guitar, no pickups or anything. So, luckily I have a day job, and I do pretty well, and I have the means to go out, and I probably got more than I even needed. I'm one of those guys,
Yeah.
So went out and got everything, and then it was like, well, shit, I need to learn these songs now. Learning songs nowadays, we have YouTube and all that stuff. They have a thing called Ultimate Guitar, which has all the lyrics and music and whatnot. I'm pretty proficient at playing at least, the basic chords, cowboy chords, they call them, open chords. And so I crammed, almost like you'd be cramming for a test, and I learned enough songs to do a show. So I learned all these songs. I figured out how to get them, back when I was doing it, you didn't have iPads and all that stuff. It was all sheet music and, pieces of paper and a notebook and rewinding a cassette tape a million times to figure out the words and the chords and whatnot. Now it's all, you can just look stuff up in 2 seconds. Yeah. So in, 5 days, I was able to get, 30, 40 songs, enough to play this show.
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah. And they booked the thing during the afternoon on a Saturday, and literally all my friends from the gym, we probably had over 100 people there, and, family and friends and gym friends and whatnot. And, we cranked it. They didn't even, the place wasn't even prepared. They had like one cook there, and it was like, we just blasted the place. The next day the owner was like, hey, when can you book some more shows? And it just kind of rolled from there. And I was able to use that, from my experience in business. I was able to use that show to approach other places. Yep. And embellish it a little bit. And you said, I play places, let me think. I play the Fish Bar. He said, yeah, I play places, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and then,
make it so you make it,
then I booked another show, and then I'd be like, and then I booked a winery. So then I went to all the wineries and said, yeah, I play wineries. I played this winery. And they're like, and then I had a couple of the YouTube videos where they could go on and see the YouTube videos, and it just kind of rolled from there. So that's pretty much how it kind of started.
Very cool. Yeah. Very cool. How long ago was that?
I've only been doing it for maybe 5 or 6 summers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. I thought you had been playing longer. I've heard you. I know.
I've been playing longer, but
Yeah.
actually playing this little, local winery circuit and whatnot. It's been, I think 5 or 6 years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you, I know at least once a year you come into yoga and you do the entire playlist. You go through and you just play and sing and
yeah,
we flow and vibe.
super cool event. Yeah. Started by Rachel.
Yep. Yep.
And well, in fact, that's the only person I've done it with is Rachel. That's our group.
Yes. Yeah, I was disappointed. I couldn't make it this year. I had something going on. I can't remember what it was, but I couldn't make it, and I was disappointed because I enjoy that class.
Yeah,
it's
a great experience. Everybody seems to like it, and more importantly, I get a lot out of it. It's unplugged, so I'm not plugging anything in, and then the acoustics in that room are super cool.
Yeah,
and then I usually end with some kind of big song, and it's been pretty fun.
Yeah,
I enjoy doing that one.
Definitely. That's really cool, though. I'm glad to kind of hear how that kind of transpired because I meet you and I know you as the musician at yoga that does business. It's kind of nice to get a good background on that and do that. My brother does. He's always done bands and stuff. He's not currently in one right now, but he plays guitar and he's been in bands all over the place. He was in a band in South Korea when he was there teaching. And then he was in one in the Bahamas when he was there teaching. And right now he's not. He's focusing on his career. He just doesn't have at the time. He's so music's always been in the family on that side. And then I like to write lyrics, but I can't sing, so it works.
Hey, that's all right.
But
there's a market for that.
Yeah,
there is.
That's true. That's true. So yeah, but no, that's awesome. I really appreciate you taking some time today.
Mm-hmm.
I think we got some really good content. One question I have: if you have one piece of advice for anybody out there that kind of encompasses just doing, whether it's music, business, whatever, what do you think the biggest piece of advice you could give somebody that's on the edge of wanting to do something and kind of pushing through to get to that point and actually getting started?
This could be a long answer.
Go for it.
First of all, I would say I have a few points, and I'll try to keep it organized in my mind. But first of all, I think working on yourself, personal development, right? I think personal development has been a big thing, and I'm kind of looking at this. I'm older now. You could have told me this when I was in my 20s or 30s, and I would have thought you were nuts.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe I sound like my dad now, but I think working on yourself through personal development and reading reading all the books and just kind of getting yourself into that world. And then trying everything, trying the morning routines, trying the evening routines, trying the exercise, the yoga, the CrossFit, the whatever, the journaling, all that stuff, the diets, all this stuff, all this personal development stuff. But then keep an open mind that, some stuff's going to work for you. Some stuff's not going to work for you. And that's fine. Keep the stuff that sticks, try your ice bath. If you stick with it, you stick with it. If you don't, you don't. Keep the stuff that works. Keep an open mind knowing that things can change as your life changes. That's fine. The thing that I've been kind of, and more directly to your question, and the thing I've been thinking about lately as I'm older is I think that having goals, defined goals is really an important thing. You may have all the daily routines and all that stuff. You may be doing the CrossFit or the yoga or the music or whatever, but why? Why are you doing that? Where are you going? And I think by actually writing down goals, setting goals, defining them, writing them down gives you kind of some directions as to why you're doing these routines or why you're doing this, why you're setting your life up, where are you headed? And I think a lot of times I know myself personally, I've spent years doing all these routines and all these things that are good for me, but with no direction, like no end goal. And I think that's a big thing. And define a goal and then do these things and, spend a little bit of time every day write those goals down, post them up. These guys have a nice goal board over here. It'll keep reminding you every day that, work 10 minutes towards that goal. I was talking to somebody, I was talking to Candace the other day, and I likened it to like, if you pull up the Google Map app, right? You're going to put something in there, and that's where you're going. Like I put this address in here today to get to there. Otherwise it would be like going and getting in your car and driving down the street. The car you may have an oil change, you may have it full of gas, everything's good. But like, if you don't have anywhere where you're going, which is fine sometimes, but for the most part, like you got to kind of need to know where you're headed that day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I hope that's not too far out there, but
No,
I think goal setting and keeping a focus as to what you're doing is important. And I have to remind myself of that. This music thing is so wide open, and so there's so many different directions you could go. And I do write music. I've made an album. I do, this thing, I'm doing the podcast, I'm in a band, but it's kind of like, well, okay, what do you want to, of those things, like, what is the goal? What is the main, where do you see yourself in a year, 5 years, 10 years? And beyond just saying it, or, I think writing it down and having a clear plan is important.
I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. I'm a big goal person. And the thing that I like to do too, when I have a goal, when I set a goal, I try to find 3 reasons. What are my 3 whys for it? And the reason I do that is it keeps you going when things suck or things get stagnant. And I like 3 simply because, like you said, life changes all the time. So if one of those factors changes, if the goal is important enough, are there two other strong reasons to keep you going? And then if you get down to 1, then maybe it's time to reassess your goals and reevaluate, because life does change. Your
goals can change. It's fine.
Yep. But like you said, having one, and I like that. Plus, if you don't have a goal, it can make it, and take music, for example, you have so many avenues you can go. If you don't have a goal and you're looking at all of them, it can be so overwhelming you don't want to start. Because then that could keep people off the bench. So
yeah, sometimes I sit there, I've actually like sat down and thought, like, what's my goal for this month? Shit, I don't really have a goal for this month.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm doing all this stuff every day. Is your goal to get a paycheck, or is your goal to,
Yep.
It's kind of scary to not have a goal, but I've operated a long time without any goals. You know what I mean? And,
well, hey, and that goes to show too. I mean, you're still on that journey of growth.
Yeah,
you're still always finding new ways to improve yourself. And
for sure.
And I think that's huge too, because it gives you a purpose. It gives you a reason just in general to live. Like, there's so many unhappy people in society from what I can tell. And I think a lot of it is because it's aimless. People are not really, they don't have a purpose. They don't give themselves reasons. They take the lazy, easy way out. And I know from my personal experience, when I do that, I'm the most unhappy I ever am.
Sure.
But when you find that purpose and you find that goal, it motivates you. It gives you a reason to get out of bed.
For sure.
So
yeah.
So very cool. Well, I do appreciate you taking some time. We're gonna put his information in the bio below, so if you can check out his podcast. If you're in the area, we'll post a place for you to find out where he's playing as well. I definitely recommend you get out and check him out. And I really appreciate you guys taking the time to sit with us today, and I appreciate you taking time.
Right on, man.